Welcome back to the Amazon SES Workshop Deep Dive series. I'm Gautam from AWS, and in our previous video, we successfully set up and verified our email and domain identities. Now, we are moving into exploring the different ways to send emails through SES. Amazon SES provides three main ways to send emails, each designed for different use cases. First is the SMTP interface. It works just like the traditional email servers, but with SES enhanced deliverability. And it's perfect for applications that already use SMTP or need simple integration. Then there is Send Email API. It's a straightforward programmatic approach for basic formatted emails. This works great for applications that need to send simple text or HTML content. And we also have the Send Raw Email API. This provides the ultimate flexibility for complex formats, attachments, and custom headers. This method handles MIME formatted messages and is ideal for advanced email scenarios. So, now let's dive into the practical implementations of each method. In the self-guided workshop, you will have the opportunity to work hands-on with these demos. Remember, you can always reach out to your AWS account team if you need additional support during these exercises. Now, let's start with the first lab. We'll work with Amazon SES SMTP interface. So, first, let's get our SMTP credentials. I am navigating to the SMTP settings in the left navigation pane here. Now, let's create the SMTP credentials. This will take us to the IAM console where we will create an IAM user specifically for SMTP access. Let's click Create to generate our credentials. We need this special SES SMTP credentials because they act as a secure authentication mechanism that allows our application to connect to Amazon SES SMTP endpoint. We can think of this as our username and password for the SES email service. That is, these SMTP credentials are different from our regular IAM credentials because they are specifically designed for SMTP authentication and use a different authentication mechanism than the AWS API calls. Also, another important tip, make sure you download or copy these credentials right away because you won't be able to see the password again after leaving the screen. And before we establish the connection, let's gather our SMTP settings. In the SES console, under SMTP settings, you will find your endpoint here. It will be email-smtp.region.amazonaws.com. Most of us in this workshop will be using the US East 1 endpoint. And take note that we will be using port 587 here, which is reserved for explicit SSL. Now comes the fun part, right? Testing our SSL connection. So we will use the OpenSSL command line tool for this. As we are using AWS Cloud Shell, and in case if we run into any errors, we might need to quickly run sudo yum install OpenSSL first. Let me show you the command we will use. Once this runs successfully, we will see the certificate information and a 250 OK message. We can just type quit to close the connection when we are done. Here is where it gets interesting. We need to encode our SMTP credential in base64 format to send the email with auth login. We encode the credential in base64 because the SMTP auth login command requires credentials to be transmitted in the encoded format for security purposes. That is, it's part of the SMTP authentication protocol standard. Let me run the commands from the workshop to encode both the username and password here. Make sure to copy these encoded values to a scratchpad. We'll be needing them shortly. And the SMTP connection usually times out after about 10 seconds of inactivity, so we need to be quick. So let's prepare our email script beforehand here. We might need several components. An hello command, authentication login with those base64 encoded credentials we just created, a mail from our sender address and the receipt2 commands, that is the recipient address with our verified addresses. And of course, the email content and the subject for the email. Let's edit these on the script from the workshop, and once we are ready, we'll establish our connection again with OpenSSL and quickly paste in our script. Once the script runs, we will see a series of 250 OK responses and get a unique message ID. Let's take a moment to check our recipient's mailbox, or it could sometime end up in the spam folder as well. However, Amazon has some great documentation on email reputation management if you want to improve deliverability too. There you have it. You have just sent your first email through Amazon SES SMTP interface. Pretty straightforward, right? This method is perfect for testing, though in a production environment, you will typically want to use more automated approaches. Now let's move to the next lab. We'll be exploring the Send Email API next, which offers some interesting additional capabilities. In this lab, we will learn how to send formatted emails using the Send Email API through AWS Lambda and Python Boto 3. This is a great way to simulate a real-world email sending application. Let's start by creating the Lambda function by going through the Lambda console. Let's go ahead and click on Functions, then Create Function. We are going to author from scratch here. So, let's name our function Send Email Demo as mentioned in the workshop here. For the runtime, let's choose Python 3.9 or later and select x86-64 for the architecture. Once we have got all that set, let's create. Now it's time to add our code. In the Lambda code editor, we will see a Lambda function tab. First, let's clear out that placeholder code. We won't be needing it. I'm going to paste in our Python code that uses Boto 3 to send emails via SES. Let's take a quick look at the code and make sure to replace the sender and recipient email addresses with our verified email address. And don't forget to keep those quote marks. And now, we will review the key parts of the code together. Notice how we are using Boto 3 to create an SES client. The send email method is doing the heavy lifting here of actually sending the email. We have also included some error handling with try except blocks. It's always a good practice. And you can see that we have defined both a subject and body text for our email. Okay, now let's set up the permissions our Lambda function needs. Let's navigate to the configuration tab and click on the permissions. We will see a role name under the execution role, so let's go ahead and click that. This will open up the IAM console and we are going to create an inline policy here. Let's click on the JSON tab and the workshop as the SES permission we need to use here. Once we have pasted those in, let's name the policy SES send email only as mentioned in the workshop and create it. Back to the Lambda console. It's time to test our function now. Let's click on the test dropdown and we will configure a new test event. Let's just call it test event. You don't need to modify anything here, so just create it and save it. Once we click test, here is what should happen. The function will execute and if all goes well, you will see a success message with a message ID. This is your cue to check your recipient mailbox for the email. If everything worked correctly, you will see a green execution result box in Lambda and you should find the email in your inbox. Quick tip, if you don't see it right away, check your spam folder just in case. One more thing to remember, each time you click test, a new email will be sent. This setup is a great demonstration of how you can programmatically send emails using Amazon SES, also in a production environment. And there you have it. You have now set up a Lambda function that can send formatted emails using the Send Email API. This is a powerful tool for any application that needs to send emails programmatically. Now let's move to the third lab in this section, where we will explore sending MIME format emails using the Send Raw Email API. This method is perfect for when you need to send emails with attachments or custom headers. So let's start by creating another Lambda function. Let's navigate to the Lambda console and click Create Function. We will author from scratch, so select that option. We will name our function as Send Raw Email Demo as mentioned in the workshop. Choose Python 3.9 or later as the runtime and select x86-64 for the architecture. Let's go ahead and click Create Function once we are ready. Now let's implement our code. In the code source editor under Lambda function, you will see a Lambda function tab. Let's again clear out the default code. We won't be needing it. I am going to paste in our MIME enabled code. Take a quick look and make sure to update the sender and recipient email addresses with our verified ones. And again, don't forget to keep the quote marks. Let's walk through the key parts of this code. You will notice we are using several MIME related Python libraries. We are creating a MIME multi-part object for our email which allows us to add both plain text content and an attachment. The big difference here is we are using the send raw email method instead of the send email API. So pay attention to how we are handling the attachment as a MIME application object. This gives us a lot of flexibility. So again, it's time to set up the necessary permissions. Let's navigate to the configuration tab under Lambda console and then permissions. Under execution role, we will see the role name. Let's go ahead and click that. This opens up the IAM console, and let's add permission by creating an inline policy from the dropdown. We will use the JSON tab for this, and let's take the JSON policy from the workshop that allows the SES send raw email action. So let's just paste that in. Let's name the policy as SES send raw email only as mentioned in the workshop and create it. Now let's test our function. Back in the Lambda console, click the test dropdown. We'll again create a new test event here. So let's call it just the test event. The default JSON template is fine here since we are not using any event data in our function. Now, when we run the test, we should see a green success box if everything goes well. In the execution results, we will see a message ID. So yeah, come, let's check our email. We should find the newsletter content we specified along with the text attachment and any custom headers we defined. One important note, like our previous test, there is also a chance that this email might land in our spam folder. So be sure to check there if you don't see it right away. Also, remember that each time you run this test, it will send a new email with the attachment. What makes send raw email really special is its flexibility. With this method, you can add multiple attachments, customize headers, create complex MIME structures, and handle more sophisticated email formatting. And there you have it. We have now explored 3 different SES sending methods: SMTP, send email, and send raw email. Each has its own use cases and advantages, giving you a comprehensive toolkit for handling various email sending scenarios. This wraps up our exploration of different SES sending methods. In the next video, we will look into the configuration sets and how to use them to manage email sending with Amazon Simple Email Service API. Thanks for watching.